Late Night Lori here, coming to you on Saturday, July 26th at 11:27 p.m. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from Wisconsin in the U.S. And I had a fun time actually doing this card last night, kind of on the fly. Who doesn't love a wobble, right? We're going to do another wobble tonight. In the U.S. Well, let me turn down my volume on my iPad. All right, seems like everything's in order, so I can see if anybody joins me and wants to collaborate or comment or just follow along. So last night I did this cute little card featuring the designer series paper, the Spooky Sweet designer series paper. There's actually a whole suite of products. There's some really pretty ribbon, not necessarily suitable for a boy card probably. I could have put it on here, but it just didn't really work out, and I quite honestly forgot about it. But there are these Shimmer Star Foam stickers. So these come in white, gorgeous, no, that's probably not gorgeous grape. Maybe Highland Heather. That might be gorgeous grape. And the black. So those are fun. I'm not sure if we use any of those on tonight's card or not, but this Spooky Sweet designer series paper is pretty fun. And all of the papers that Stampin' Up! Has, almost all of them, unless they're a specialty designer series paper, they're two-sided. Now this one has some laser die cut elements. So this page, there's two of them. Those are not two-sided, but the other ones in this package are. Oh, let me put this envelope back with this other card from yesterday. So these are all little die cuts. I used the little costumed fairy yesterday. And I'm going to use this today. So our little wrapped up hippo. If you looked at my description at all, I thought I would wrap up another card today. So I'm going to try to do this hippo. And I'm just going to quickly show you these papers. So this is one that was able to be cut down into several little card fronts. But I also like the back of that one. And this is the other half of that. So this would be like the top that you could use to make a bag or a scrapbook layout. Oh, that goes with this. This is candies, and then the back side. And this is side A and side B with all those little spooky windows. And look at these cute little ones. The flamingo, a little bat, a bear. Those are really cute. I will probably end up fussy cutting those out, and that's the back side. And all right, that's the back side of that one. Which one did I miss? Oh, this one, because I cut up all of these little, they're like tags. And I just cut this strip into a 6x6 because I'm not sure if I just want to do the banner or if I want to have them together. I don't know. So that's what I've got going on with that. So let me get these out of the way and I'll show you kind of what I have prepped. So I originally was going to maybe put that little cauldron on here with some bubbles. So I got my cauldron worked out, and it's got this little punch out piece. If you're creative, you could hang on to this and just arc it a little bit more and make a little moon out of that. So I'm going to hang on to that. I might use that. And then let me get that piece again, and I will show you. I should have kept that over here. These little pieces here with all of the little potion, whatever they're stewing up in the cauldron. So if I punch this out, you can see I punched one out already, and I'll show you what I did to it. that's just going to lay on here. And I think that's adorable. However, there's a lot of white around there that didn't really trip my trigger. So what I did was, and you might notice that I've got my my Stampin' Right basic black marker here. So all I did was color around the edges with my marker to get rid of that white edge. And I lined it up so that it would look like the cauldron ended. And then, if I can line this up here, I just drew that handle so that it didn't stick out like a sore thumb. Hello, Susan. First time watching. Yeah, your name was not familiar. I am making a Halloween card. So I am using the Spooky Sweet Designer Series paper, and I'm going to use just a couple of the sentiments from Spooky Halloween. I am not a big Halloween celebrator, but I do have 2 young grandchildren. My granddaughter is 7.5. The grandson is 9.5. So they will enjoy this. There's cute dies too. These 2 go with the figures there. And there's some really fun elements on this. I have not used the dies yet. So you can see that it cuts out the broom, cuts out the pumpkins. There's some extra bats. This will make a tag that kind of cuts out. I will do another one so you can see how that one works. But tonight I also used this. Yeah, it's nice to see what's going on and how the houses are decorated. I'm not into all the spooky stuff. I like just the fun for the kids. And I'm not necessarily into potions and spells and all of that sort of thing. But I decided to use one of these, like a banner die from the Nested Essentials dies. So I'm going to show you how I put that all together. So I was just kind of running through the elements of this. So what I'm starting out with is just a normal base. In the United States, our bases are 8.5 by 5.5. I scored at 4.25 here, so that when I fold it in half, I've got 4.25 by 5.5. So I kind of started with that, and I knew I wanted to use the little mummy hippo. Let me burnish this again so it lays flatter, and let me get this out of the way. So I knew I wanted to use the hippo because I made this card yesterday for my granddaughter, and she will love it. I've got a little wobble on here. So I thought I would make this one for my grandson. All right. So his obviously needs to be a little different. It needs to be unique, right? So with this little cauldron, I'm going to go ahead and just glue this on. And I don't know where you popped in, Susan, but this white outline here that we have on there, I actually colored it in with my Stampin' Right basic black marker, just because I wasn't real happy with all the white around there. I mean, it could be fine. You know, nobody's really gonna probably say anything about it, but I thought this looked a little better. So I just loosely colored that. I wasn't really worried about being it perfect because the cauldron itself is just kind of like sketch colored in. And then I put a little line here for where the handle is going to be for the cauldron. And I thought that that looked better to me. And quite honestly, a 9.5, almost 10-year-old is probably not going to care, but I care. So there's how it comes off the pack. And here's how I decided to do it different. So you can decide. I'm going to just punch out another one. You can kind of decide which way you like it better if you get this. So the white or with it filled in. I like it with the more filled in cauldron. All right. So I thought I would do my sentiment on this piece. So one of the designer series papers, we get to cut out all of these little tags. Now, when I use this one, I'm probably gonna cover up that little alien looking thing. I will cover that up because I'm just not a fan of it. Somebody else might really like it, but I won't. And then this one, I don't know if I'm going to use the banners or if I wanted to use the gray. So I just cut this down to a 6-inch for the 12 by 12. And all of these other tags were along the bottom. All right. So what I did with this then is I decided to fussy cut around the outside here because I thought this was too boxy. So I have just fussy cut that out, and that's what I'm going to put my sentiment on. So I'm going to get these out of the way, and I'm just going to use some Memento Black. And we are going to do the No Tricks, All Treats, because that's the same thing that I put on the front of this one. So it's going to be all tricks, no treats. No, no tricks, all treats. And we'll just pop that on here. And I like to just hold my stamp there for a few seconds to let the ink soak in. All right, so that turned out pretty good. All right, let's just cover this up for now so I don't get inky. All right, so when I put these on here, I'm thinking, all right, I don't like it. All right, there's not enough to it. So I thought, you know, originally I could have put this little cauldron on there and done some layers, put this up on a wobble, but it still just didn't seem like it was turning into the card that I would be happy with. All right, so I think I'm gonna ditch this. I like the cauldron on it, but not for the look of my card. So I'm going to pull in this piece too, and we're just going to dress it up a little bit. So what I did was I took this Timid Tiger piece and this die here from the Nested Essentials dies, and it's the second one from the outside, and I decided I was going to kind of gut out the center. All right, laying this out was a little bit of a challenge. All right, so first I ran it through once, and then I lined it up as best I could, and I ran it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine a second time, and then I had to trim a little bit where the edges didn't exactly line up. All right, for me, not a big deal. All right, so I'm liking this a little bit better. It's kind of like coming together now for me. And then this can go here somewhere. Or maybe I'll put this on the inside. We might put that on the inside with the Happy Halloween on there. All right. So I still wasn't quite happy with this. The 9.5-year-old is probably going to love it. Me, not so much. So I thought, what can I do to dress this up? I didn't want to make a shaker card because I don't have the colored elements that I think would work with that. So I took another piece of my basic black and I cut it down so that it would fit behind here and not show any edges. And I ran it through the Dotted Circles 3D embossing folder. And the reason why I did that was that I figured with the cauldron, these might look like little cauldron bubbles. So that's what I did. So here's my piece. I think it's like 3.5 by 5. All right, so 3.5 by 5. And this is going to go here. And I'm going to pop this up. All right, so let's go ahead and glue this down and get that out of the way. And I think if we just pretty much center this, we should be good to go. All right, so I have the circle above where my cauldron is loosely going to lie. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop this up. And I think what I'm going to do is actually use my adhesive strips. Let me go grab those. I've been going through a lot of these. So these are foam adhesive strips that I didn't originally plan on using, but they're going to be perfect for this. So we'll just lay these down. I don't need a lot of lift. I just need lift. And while I'm a messy stamper, I can't help it. I'm a putsy stamper usually, but I wanted to get a lot of this stuff prepped ahead of time. So that's why I embossed this already. When you put it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because that's a 3D embossing folder, you'll use the platform, that base plate, and the number 4 plate, nothing else. And then your embossing folder with the paper in it. Okay, so this one, we'll just cut about like so. And this will just hold it up nicely. And then there-ish. All right, and we are ready to pop this up. Now, I like how that looks much better. My sentiment is hiding. It's gonna go here. So I can put a couple of dimensionals on the back of this. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the black ones. Let me just make sure, yep. We can put some of these on here. And we'll end up gluing around the edges mostly. So we can put probably another one here. And maybe one in the middle. All right. So that'll go there. So what I want to do is I'm just going to turn this over. And I'm lining this up so this corner here is just going to be kind of camouflaged. All right. So I'm going to just use a pencil here. And I'm going to mark this so that I can put some liquid glue around here. I do like the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room because it doesn't set immediately unless you do it super thin. So we'll just lay this here and flip it over. So that looks pretty good. All right, so we can make sure that that's set. So this will go here. And then we're going to do a little wobble on our hippo. So that can go like right in the center here. And these wobbles, I just ordered from Amazon. These are the mini wobbles. I don't know how much bigger the big ones are. I don't think I ordered any of those. I don't think I've used them all. So let's go ahead and put this on our little hippo guy. And then this will be ready. And then our little cauldron, we're going to set, I think, on the end of here. I thought about putting it inside, but I like it popped up a little bit. So again, we're going to put dimensionals over on this side. And then we'll put some glue on the other edge. So again, I'm just going to flip this over kind of where I want it laid and use my pencil. Oh, made a mess of that. We'll put that here. So if I just put the glue around the edge here, we'll be good. I just want it so it doesn't pop up. Alrighty. And that way too, the handle is going to be kind of supported by that piece of designer series paper. So I have it a little higher than I originally planned, but that's not going to be a problem, obviously. And this is going to go here then. Okay. So I think what I want to do is a little splatter. There's a lot of orange here, and I don't know that I like all the orange. So I'm going to just take my marker and lightly flick, and you probably can't see it very well. I can hear an owl outside. It's not quite midnight where I am, and I can hear an owl hooting outside. I'm in kind of a semi-rural area, so we have lots of wildlife. And sometimes I worry about the owls because I have chickens, and I don't want the chickens to get eaten by the owls. All right, so I think that's better. That gives me a little darker, you know, breaks up some of that starkness. All right, so I'm ready for this. I'm going to peel all of these off. We're ready to stick this on our card. I can always add some more splatter if I don't think it's quite enough. And then I like to use my take your pick tool to get these little backing pieces off. And when you use the black ones, it's really nice because you can, there's no doubt as to whether you've gotten that backing piece off. I got quite a few on my pokey tool here, so they didn't want to come off. All right, make sure I'm putting this on the right way. I don't want to have an upside down card. So that's going to go there. And our cauldron's not going to sink, our sentiment's not going to sink. And now we're going to put our little hippo on his wobble. And there might be a place where this is separated. There we go. And I just want to make sure the wobble is inside my frame. Yeah, that's good. And who doesn't like a fun little wobble, right? I think that's adorable. All right, next, let me get rid of some of my debris. I do apologize for being a messy stamper, but that's part of my creative process, I guess. All right, I'm done with my dimensionals. I'm not going to use these. All right, so now for the inside, what I want to do is I'm going to do another layer. And, you know, I could have roughed up those edges. I still could do that. This is a Halloween card after all. And then I'll do that on the inside layer as well. And that just kind of breaks up the harshness of that edge of the layer too. Normally I would do this before I attach it. Let's try not to rip up the hippo, or mummified hippo. So I think that's better. So let's go ahead and rough up these edges too. It'll be easier with this one since I don't have it stuck on, obviously. If you do this too, if your the blade on your trimmer is dull, this is a nice way to camouflage any of those frayed edges from a dull blade. So if you're like me and you like to hang on to your blades as long as you possibly can, this is a fun technique. All right, so this is going to go right inside. So let's go ahead and put some glue on here. And we'll get that centered here. And again, that liquid glue gives me a little bit of wiggle room. I can shift it a little bit if I'm not quite straight or centered. And then this piece will go in here. Now let's just take a look here if there's... No, I guess there's nothing really that I'd want die cut. I was just wondering if there was something I could die cut out of the white layer. I could do the bats, I suppose, and add, let me get this out of the way because we're done with this. if I do the bats, we could put a little piece of black behind there. Oops, I didn't want that. I want the dies. Oh, we could do some paper piecing. That would be fun. So I'm going to cut these out here. And let me get my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I hadn't originally planned on this, so that's why I'm not prepared for this one. But I think it'll be worth it. So, oh, I'm going to have to get, will it fit? Oh, it will just fit. Phew. All right, so let's put that up there. All right. So we've got these little white bats cut out, and now I'm going to go grab a piece of a black scrap. I'm going to hang on to these white bats. I could always color them, but I'm not going to. Let me go get a scrap of black. And we're going to cut out a couple more bats, and we're going to piece those in. I think that'll be fun. Alright, those are super cute. And then let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Put the bats back in there so I don't lose them. And we'll get this out of here. Now, this would be a fun piece to save as a stencil, too. That would work. All right, so let's go here. And we are going to stamp Happy Halloween. Normally, I take my ink pad and I tap it on my stamp. But this is a felt rather than a foam pad, and it needs to be re-inked. So we're just going to go here, and I'm going to hold that on there for just a couple of seconds to let that ink soak in. And cover this up. And then this, I'm going to rough up the edges on this as well. So that it doesn't look quite so stark. You could also, if you had a little larger piece, you could probably do some paper tearing to get that effect. And that might have been fun because I've got that mummied hippo on the front, so some torn pieces of paper probably would have been fun. But we're going to do this, so let's go ahead and glue this down. And again, liquid Tombow glue is my go-to. I use a very thin layer. A lot of people don't like the liquid, the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. It's a mouthful. Because they say it's too messy. And I guess my answer to that is that if it's too messy, you're using too much. So a little bit goes a long way. So my granddaughter used to say ... not a lot. And I think that works really well. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in these void spaces because I don't believe in orange bats. It probably wouldn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and put that one in there. And this one in here. I love that. And then we're going to put our little pumpkin guy with the crow over here because I think that works. Originally, I thought of putting it on my sentiment side, but I think that'll break up the plain black on the left side of the card. We're just going to put it kind of close to that edge. All right. So the other thing that I will do then is do something with my flap. I love that. And the kids are going to love it too. So here's the card from yesterday with our little dressed up bear on the wobble. Here's today. So this one's going to be for my granddaughter. This one's going to be for the grandson. The inside is very similar. All right. And then this, I think what I will do is use the embossing folder and emboss the flap. So let me just do that quick. I don't even remember what time I started. But I'm going to run this through the embossing folder quick just so you can see how that looks. So this one we need the big Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. This is my Bossy Betty. And we need our base plate. No shim. We need our embossing folder with the envelope at the edge there, and then we need plate number 4. All right, and that should run through really smoothly. And then when we take that out, look at that. How fun is that? All right, so let me get this stuff put away. So I can open up my mat again so we can take a look at the finished projects, the wrapped up cards. This is a switch. I don't think I have ever had Halloween cards for the grandkids done this early. And then what I'll need to do as well is stamp a couple of pumpkins on there for that card, and we'll be good to go. So that's what I have for you tonight. These two, this is last night's card, this is tonight's card, and Spooky Halloween with the Spooky Sweet Designer Series paper. If you don't have these and you want them, you're in the United States. If you do not have a demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. And you can shop with me anytime online at lauriemccari.stampinup.net. If you like this idea, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel, share, like, whatever. It all helps me to grow my channel, and I really appreciate the support. I will post a picture of this card. This one's already been posted to my Facebook page, which is also Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. If you're inspired, or if you've made some cards before you even saw what I've done here tonight, go over my Facebook page, add a comment to this one, and show me what you've made. You can't add pictures here on YouTube, but you can add them on my Facebook page. So I'd love to see what you're creating. So until next time, thanks for stopping in. Happy crafting.